This ship is responsible for trafficking billions of dollars worth of drugs, for abducting hundreds of innocent civilians, and for illegally smuggling materials for nuclear weapons. Oh, and it's also the world's worst cruise ship. Introducing the Mangyongbong 92, the world's only 0-star cruise ship, and that's on a scale from 1 to 5. But to better understand this ship and how it ended up becoming a worldwide laughingstock, we first have to go back in time, precisely April 15th, 1992. Today's Kim Il-sung's 80th birthday. As a North Korean supreme leader, he was gifted the $35 million Mangyongbong 92, a cargo passenger ferry. The ship was built with one purpose in mind: to connect the country to Japan. Every month it would make a single round trip from Wonsan, North Korea to Niigata, Japan, a known technology hub. Now it's important to note that North Korea at the time, just like today, was and is in complete economic ruin. The 1990s even later became known as the Arduous March, or the North Korean famine, a period of mass starvation leading to the death of over 500,000 people. So it might seem quite bewildering to spend $35 million on a ship that only does 12 round trips every single year. But trust me, it will start to make sense soon. From its creation, the Mangyongbong 92 was quite a unique vessel. The ship has many confusing walkways and hidden rooms and compartments. That's because its primary purpose was never the export of regular consumer goods. Its primary purpose was the export of North Korea's #1 most valued industry, methamphetamine. $7 billion worth of it. In the years after World War II, the North Korean army regularly provided its soldiers with a drug to make them more active, and this caused a widespread addiction in the country, which led to more demand and thus more production. In the 1990s, the government realized they had become so efficient at producing crystal meth that they could make money with this, and started a massive government-sponsored drug production and trafficking ring. And at the heart of it, this ship, which within 10 years managed to export over 3.5 million pounds of methamphetamine, worth over $7 billion. But that only gives you one part of this story. While the ship was filled with illegal drugs when leaving North Korea, it came back with something quite different, and potentially more terrifying. Weapon materials and humans. Trafficked humans. When arriving in Japan, North Korean agents would secretly receive dozens of deliveries of PlayStations, camera lenses, and electronic scales. But that's not because they're opening a Best Buy in North Korea, but because they're developing nuclear weapons. They take Japanese electronics back home, deconstruct them, and send them right back in the form of missiles. A North Korean defector even admitted in 2003 that 90% of the country's missile parts were brought in on this ship. But that's not the only thing North Koreans imported. See, not many foreigners willingly come to North Korea to teach their foreign language. And that's a problem for the North Korean spy agency, which desperately needs native Japanese speakers to teach their spies. So they just grab them. Literally. Hundreds of young Japanese citizens, mostly in their 20s, just started disappearing from coastal areas. The youngest of them, a 13-year-old girl. They were all kidnapped by secret North Korean agents and herded together on the Mangyongbong to be sent to the north. To this day, North Korea has only admitted to abducting 13 Japanese citizens, with 890 other disappearances linked to the country still unresolved today. But thankfully, in 2006, abductions abruptly ended when North Korean vessels were banned from Japanese waters. This meant that North Korea now had a ship with no purpose laying completely idle. Until Kim Jong-il, the son of Kim Il-sung, and the new leader of North Korea came up with a great idea. He had heard of this quickly growing market in America called cruising.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time.
So fascinated by it, he wanted one here in North Korea. And what better way to do this than to transform the Smuggling 92 into a luxury cruise liner. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. The route they decided on is a 5-day cruise leaving Rason, a port near the Chinese border, easily accessible for international tourists. The ship would then have a day at sea before arriving in Mount Kumgang, a scenic and historic mountain area, before heading back. This cruise was advertised as an all-inclusive luxury cruise on the newly renovated and rejuvenated Smuggling 92. Now you might think the vessel still looks exactly like it did as a drug trafficking ship, and you'd be right, because they only spent 1 week renovating it. Nevertheless, the big moment came. Embarkation day for the ship's maiden voyage from the port of Rason. All the city's inhabitants came, or well, were forced to attend the vessel's festive launch. The ship was decorated with banners, balloons, and even child performers. Then Chinese travel agents and foreign journalists were invited to board the cruise, and the ship set sail. That's when the horror really began. Passengers who were not allowed to bring any phones or laptops with them were shown their rooms. And there are 2 types of cabins on this luxury cruise. Firstly, the opulent owner's suite, starting at an affordable $970 per person. Ta-da! Yup, the owner's suite gives you exclusive access to 2 bunk beds, a table, and your own private bathroom. And it might be hard to believe, but there's a huge drop in comfort level to the second type of cabin, the standard room. The standard room is a shared 8-person cabin with mattresses just lying on the floor. And yes, when the ship moves, the mattresses move with it. And this wouldn't even be this bad if it weren't for the abysmal restroom conditions. But don't worry, crew members reassured passengers that the water is clean and safe. Moving on from one gooey brown liquid to another, coffee on board was free, and so was the nightly karaoke and the daily dinner, which consisted of dry fish, which apparently tasted like plastic. But don't worry, if you don't finish it, maybe the fish will do it themselves. With all those negative comments and complaints, North Korea really wanted to leave tourists with a bang. Quite literally, as the ship rammed into the pier at the last port. If you're interested in booking a cruise on the historic Smuggling 92, I have to disappoint you. People really didn't enjoy this cruise, and after just a few months in service, the cruises were halted due to a lack of demand. But if ever anything changes, the ship is still docked there today, and maybe one day we can actually take you on the world's worst cruise ship. But for now, you'll have to settle for this, the second part in this video series on North Korea, posted on our brand new travel adventure channel, where I visit one of the weirdest tourist destinations on Earth, the most militarized border in the world, and a secret North Korean tunnel. So if you're interested and want to learn more about North Korea, or just want to support and subscribe to our brand new channel, check it out here, or click the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep cruising. This is the most dangerous place on Earth, the world's most militarized border, and South Korea's #1 tourist attraction. Welcome to the weirdest place I've ever been, the DMZ.